Hey guys, Killix here, multi-rank 1 in PvP, Mythic Plus, and the #1 Virgin Collector in North America. In Season 1, I achieved Rank 1 Holy Paladin worldwide in Blitz, and I locked in another Rank 1 title in Season 2. So if you're looking to play Herald of the Sun at the highest level possible, you're in the right place. In this guide, I'll be walking you through the War Within Season 3 Holy Paladin talent builds for 3v3, solo shuffles, and Blitz. We'll cover how to set up your talents, the key swaps you should be making depending on your matchups, and the specific differences between standard arenas and Blitz talent changes. I'll also break down the PvP talents, hero talents, flex points, and the playstyle adjustments so you'll know exactly what to run, no matter what comp or map you're facing. Blizzard has made a few adjustments to the right side of the talent tree, including adding a new talent called Pillars of Light. Although this talent is not used because it is very undertuned, it has slightly shifted the layout, allowing you to pick other talents. While the core playstyle of Herald remains the same, these small changes do open some variations in our build and remove a few outdated options. The biggest change, however, is Infusion of Light. It now has a flat 10% chance per Holy Shot cast to proc, instead of being tied to crit. This is huge because any ability or mechanic that casts multiple Holy Shocks gives you multiple chances at once. That means we're generating way more infusion procs than before, and our build is now centered around empowering those instant flash of lights. The actual benefit from Infusion of Light as well has been completely reworked, and it has made our flash of light drastically stronger and actually usable in PvP now. Before we go over the actual talent trees, here are some two quick websites that you can use, that I use personally myself, to help decide choices like these. You can use murloc.io, and in this website it's going to show you common builds and gear for each class and spec. Just note that it's very inaccurate early in the season since it needs time to update with the real data. You can basically pick Holy Pally, and you can see what people are running. Holy Paladin, Lightsmith, Herald of the Sun, War Within, from specific ratings to specific ratings, updated 2 hours ago. You can see what enchants they have, what stats they have, pretty much everything. But like I said, it's not completely updated yet, so it's going to be a couple more days or weeks before it's fully updated. The second website is very useful. I use this almost every single day that I PvP. It's going to be called Check PvP. This lets you look up any player's talents and gear, so we can look up myself, for example, and it's going to show you my ratings, my achievements, all that stuff, my characters, and you can also look up talent builds in here that people are running. You can also look up title cutoffs. So if you want to go look at cutoffs, you can see what rank 1 is in every bracket for every single class, for every single spec, and it even has an LFG tool that you can use to find other players on each region that are looking for partners as well and want to play as well with other people if you're struggling to find partners in the in-game LFG. As far as hero talents, these will never change for any bracket. It will be the same for threes, solo shuffle, blitz, RBGs, everything. You're always going to play Gleaming Rays, and you're always going to play Blessing of Ansh. We're going to start off by going over 3v3 to begin with. Keep in mind these talents can also be used for solo shuffles. The only difference in solo shuffles is that you do not ever have to worry about mana whatsoever, and the games will not be long. So things like improved Blessing of Protection will be bad in solo shuffles, because the matchups are always short. Going over the Paladin class tree, for the most part this section will look identical in almost every single matchup. The only talents to swap to consider here are going to be versus Assassination Rogues or Shadow Priests. You're going to want to play Righteous Protection. And your flex point will always be Blessing of Calling. So if you're fighting a Shadow Priest or an Assassination Rogue, you're going to play Righteous Protection. If you're fighting a 5 to 6 minute game matchup, you're going to play Improved Blessing of Protection. More often than not, you're going to play this into double caster matchups, because double caster matchups will be much longer games. But for the most part, this is the concrete build. Blessing of Calling is your flex point here. You can also move it into Consecrated Ground to slow enemies, or into Holy Reprieve if you're dying during Forbearance window. This is a very rare choice, but it's also an option. Keep in mind, this flex point can be used to whatever you want, depending on your situation. However, everything else in this build is hard locked and never changes. The only thing that could possibly change here will be blinding light, right? So if you're playing with like a mage, for example, you're not going to want to play rep. Playing with a hunter, you're not going to want to play rep. Even playing with a hunter sometimes, rep is really good. But more often than not, you'll be playing blind. Because blind doesn't DR with trap or poly. When it comes to the holy spec tree on the right side, here's where the real changes hit this season. Because Infusion of Light is so strong now, we're shifting into a Tears Deliverance build with Hand of Divinity and solely focused on empowering our Infusion of Light, Flash of Light procs. We do not take Divine Favor anymore. We don't cast Holy Light anymore. Almost ever. You're going to use Hand of Divinity to extend your tiers with 2 instant Holy Lights. At the beginning of every single matchup, you'll basically press Tears Deliverance, Hand of Divinity, then you'll recast these abilities as soon as they're off cooldown when you're able to without getting CC'd or kicked or stopped. More often than not, you'll see me run LOS, cast Tears, then Hand of Divinity, and then use those 2 Hand of Divinities to top off my partners. During the downtime of me casting these abilities while my partners are dying, I'll need a quick ability to top them off. You're going to always take Tower of Radiance, Moment of Compassion, and Divine Revelations, and also Inflorescence of the Sunwell. Inflorescence of the Sunwell was not that important last season because you rarely ever casted Flash of Light, but now this season you're almost always using your 2 free instant Flash of Lights whenever you proc Infusion of Light. The keynotes in this build are going to be that you're not going to be able to play Unwavering Spirit or Protection of Tyr. They're just completely gone from this build as you don't have the enough talent points to flex these. And you're never going to play Unending Light or Empyrean Legacy anymore. This is no longer viable. You're always going to use Beacon of Faith, almost always keeping both beacons on both of your DPS targets, and you do not play Pillar of the Light. It's very undertuned right now and it's not very good. The flex point in this tree are going to be Hand of Divinity or Glistening Radiance. If you don't like casting Hand, swap it out, play something else. And more often than not, you're going to play Tyrion's Devotion. However, you're almost always going to play Hand of Divinity, and your flex point is going to be Glistening Radiance. The games are longer, are anywhere around 4 to 5 minutes. You're going to want to play Tyrion's Devotion for that extra Lay on Hands usage, right? Because it's a very, very big heal, and it's very good with Imperial Ward in 3v3 arenas. The other difference here in this talent is going to be you're going to have the choice between Holy Prism and Barrier of Faith. Barrier is going to scale better with Infusion spam, and it's going to build huge absorbs with your instant Flash of Lights. So it's going to synergize very well with that instant Infusion of Light, Flash of Light procs. But Holy Prism is instant, and it's reliable healing and reveals stealth. So pick whichever one fits your playstyle. You can use Holy Prism in the beginning of matches versus stealth classes on one of your partners, and if that stealth class is within 30 yards of your partner that you have used Holy Prism on, they will be automatically broken on stealth and you can get combat with them. So like rogues, pharaohs, hunters, mages that are in stealth, stuff like that. You can use Holy Prism at the beginning of the match to get them out of stealth. So it's very useful for that. Barrier of Faith is very good because you have instant flashes of lights now, and you can use those instant flashes of lights to constantly rack up the absorb shield on Barrier of Faith. However, keep in mind that Barrier of Faith does not automatically instantly heal. So it can be scary during that global usage of using Barrier of Faith if your partner's at low health. So if your partner's at low health and you press Barrier of Faith, they're not going to get instantly healed and it might actually die, right? For the most part, I always use Holy Prism because it's a massive heal, it does passive damage, and it's just an instant quick heal. When it comes to PvP talents, Hologround has been removed, and because you're not playing Darkest Before Dawn with Unending Light and Empyrean Legacy, you're going to have far fewer choices to pick here. You're going to always pick Divine Vision. It's never going to change. Now, the other two are going to be very situational. So versus almost every single matchup, you're going to play Searing Glare, Spreading the Word. Now, unfortunately, our third talent choice is not that good. Versus casters, you want to play Blessing of Spellwarding. If you're fighting a double caster comp, so if you're fighting, let's say, Mage Boomkin, you're going to play Blessing of Spellwarding with Cleanse the Weak. It's going to help out with cleansing multiple dots on multiple teammates at once. If you're fighting an Assassination Rogue and a Shadow Priest, again, you're going to swap out to Righteous Protection as well versus these with that Blessed Calling flex point. And you're also going to play Cleanse the Weak and Spellwarding. Those instant flashes of lights from your Infusion of Light proc is going to help cleansing diseases and poisons throughout the match, and it's going to slowly passively negate damage as you're healing. You can also opt in to choose Searing Glare versus these comps with Spellwarding. Versus double caster, I almost never play Searing Glare because it puts you in a bad position to get spam CC'd or swapped on in. So versus double caster specifically, I almost always play Cleanse the Weak, Blessing of Spellwarding. Let's say we're fighting like a Death Knight Demon Hunter. We're going to play Searing Glare with Spreading the Ward. Now, unfortunately, our third one is not that good. Or you're going to play Blessing of Spellwarding. Since Demon Hunter, Death Knight is mostly magical damage, Blessing of Spellwarding would be best here. If you're fighting, let's say, a Turbo and Enhancement Shaman Warrior, you're going to play Searing Glare with Spreading the Ward. Right? Or if you find yourself going which you should not be going with this new build because Flash of Light essentially takes 0 mana. But if you do find yourself going versus certain matchups, you're going to play Divine Plea. 9 out of 10 times you're not going to play this anymore. As far as the Blitz talents, it's going to be a little bit different because Blitz has its own flavor and its own playstyle. Because you have a second healer, survivability and efficiency changes quite a bit. You're going to drop Light's Revocation. You don't really need it here. And you're going to take Fate's Armor. Physical DR is much bigger here with so many random hits coming from so many different enemies. The variation between magic damage and physical damage is different depending on the matchup. You're also going to pick Light Bearer for that extra HPS since you have another healer and more EPS classes in your lobby that can passively heal you slowly throughout the game. You're going to also pick Improved Blessing of Protection. Far more valuable because games are much longer here. And you're not going to play Empyrean Ward because there's no dampening. So this is not going to be quite as good. Now the armor aspect of this is pretty good, but it's not better than having the other talent choices. On the Holy side, you're going to swap Hand of Divinity out for Tyrion's Devotion. You'll want to actually get value from Lay on Hands here because you're going to get a lot more throughout the match. And you're going to keep Glistening Radiance. It's stronger in Blitz since you can't always get a Tears cast off with so many kicks. Micro CC, you're going to slightly rely on this a little bit every now and then to catch up on healing. It's not that good, but it's like a little filler. As far as PvP talents, you're going to always keep Divine Vision and Searing Glare. This is never going to change under any circumstance, any situation in Blitz. And your third one is going to depend on the map. The general pick is going to be Cleanse the Weak on almost every single map, except Warsong Gulch, Twin Peaks, and Temple of Katmogu. On those maps, you're going to play Ultimate Sacrifice. Keep in mind, on Temple of Katmogu, you sack an Orb Carrier on your team, you'll most likely have to bubble or just spam heal yourself, or you will die yourself as well, depending on the stacks. So, on node maps, healing matters far less, and positioning and objectives matter a lot more. So, focus on being where you're needed instead of forcing casts. That's why you don't really play Hand of Divinity in Blitz, because you're not really casting nearly as much as you are in Arena or Solo Shuffles. More often than not, you're positioning yourself, you're running somewhere, or you're spam capping a node, or you're just getting to the next objective. On maps like Rothi Basin and Deepwind Gorge, your healing is almost completely irrelevant to a certain degree, because more often than not, your job on those maps, for example, are to just keep 1 or 2 people alive, which don't often require things like Hand of Divinity or Tears Deliverance. And that's the full talent breakdown for Season 3. If you want the most up-to-date talent imports, my Discord link is down in the description. I update my builds there literally every time I change something or discover new tech, so you'll always have the latest version up to date. If you want to watch these builds in action, make sure to check out my Twitch down below in the description. I'm live almost every night playing Blitz, Shuffle, 3v3s at the highest level, either collecting, Mythic Plus, raiding, you name it. If this guide helped you, drop a like and subscribe, because I've got plenty more War Within Season 3 guides coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.